Hi, this is Joe, and this is the Filmjoe Podcast, where film talk happens.
One, two, three, four.
Hi, I'm Joe, and I'm your host, and I'm here with Carlos.
Hi guys.
And welcome to the podcast where we talk about films, filmmakers, trends, the good, the bad, and the not so bad, all in the spirit and the love for film. So, in today's episode, we'll be discussing sequels that ended up being just as good, if not better, than the first. Sequels that are considered they're just iconic classics at this point.
Before anything else, I also do want to note this is the second time we're recording this. We got 40% of the episode done in one take, and then somebody realized, oh, I never hit record. So now we got to start all over. But hey, that's just a little side story. Let's just talk about, the watch report, what we've been up to, what have we been watching. Joe, what have you been watching?
The record button was pressed.
Then he went on to say, no, it's the computer. It didn't record. It paused on me. Let me close the application. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
So the
Okay.
watch report, yeah. Hey, at least we got warmed up. Okay, well, the watch report. Well, I haven't really watched. I didn't get a chance to see many films this week. Mostly in preparation for this episode, catching up on a few rewatches and films that we'll be covering today. But I did get to watch a couple of episodes of the new HBO Max series, The Last of Us, with Pedro Pascal. Have you got a chance to see this?
You know what? I'm saving up those episodes until I can watch it on probably the span of a day.
Yeah, I was tempted. I really wanted to do that because I'm the same way. If I once I get rolling on a show, I want to watch the next and the next and the
The
next. And so I kind of caved in. I said, well, there's two episodes. The first episode is like an hour and 20 minutes,
Hmm.
and the second episode is like 42 minutes. So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. I knew it would be good. I heard some really good stuff about it. A lot of buzz on the internet about it. How excellent it was, best.
Well, I mean, the only thing I needed to hear about it was Pedro Pascal is on it. I was like, okay, I'll eventually watch it.
Yeah,
I'm sold with just him.
and he is amazing. He's great in this. And it's another example how to successfully adapt a video game to a film.
Mhm.
Video
Series.
to a series, exactly, not film, because video games. This is the storyline is not, you can't encapsulate that in just a 2-hour film.
Mm.
Uh,
You're cutting off a whole lot if you do that.
Yeah, exactly. And from now, I have no frame of reference because I've never played the game. I know nothing of it. But from what I've seen in these first two episodes, it's incredible, and they did an amazing job in adapting this for the show. I know the game producers makers were involved heavily.
Oh,
Right.
really?
Yeah, they in the production of the show, but it shows. It's amazing. It's great. I highly recommend it to anybody. Can't wait for the next episode. Um, also,
What does the new episode come out?
every Sunday,
Oh, okay.
every
Okay.
Sunday on HBO Max. Free, nice little free plug there for HBO Max.
Sponsor us.
Yes, we'll be waiting for that check. Uh, the other thing I've been watching. Okay, I'm going to make an confession here.
Confession time.
Confession time. It's one of my guilty pleasures, and another show I've been binging on is a show called Friends.
Wow.
Yes. It's just a fun show. I when it first came out, I started watching, and I got into like 3 seasons of it, and then just kind of got sidetracked and stopped watching it. But it's a fun show. I mean, it's definitely up there with I'd say some of the top five iconic sitcoms or comedy shows in television in the last 20-25 years. Up there with The Office,
Hmm.
Seinfeld. What else? Sunny. What?
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Now, where this one differs, yeah, it is a very formulaic, by the numbers, kind of like boom, boom.
Character falls to the floor. Everybody bursts in laughter. Ah ha 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 ha.
Yeah, exactly. but it's still fun, and it's a warm, gives you a warm fuzzy feeling, and so anyway, enough of that. So what's on your watch report?
So I actually have watched a lot this week, mostly because next week I start the new semester of school, so I won't have as much time.
So technically, it is the next semester.
Then yeah, I'm not
next
wrong.
week.
Yeah,
Right,
thank
right.
you. But yeah, so I'm not gonna have time, so I wanted to watch as much as I could this entire week. So I started and finished up to season 3 of Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Great show.
Oh man, it's amazing. It's
Campbell.
Bruce Campbell being Ash for 3 seasons, and
Yeah.
it's great, and it's amazing, and it's everything I wanted.
Do you ever get that feeling? I can't get enough Bruce Campbell.
I would just like to hear him talk about
Anything.
just anything.
Anything. Yeah.
So I started and finished that. Then I also started and finished this anime on Netflix. It's called Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Mm.
Amazing,
Cool.
amazing. It's up there on my list of animes. It's basically like a dystopian, cyberpunky atmosphere, and the way it's animated, it's heavily used neon colors and a soundtrack that's just mwah, chef's kiss.
Wow.
I've been listening to that soundtrack this entire past week, and it's great. And then those heavy uses of neon colors inspired me to watch. It didn't inspire me, but it wanted me to watch Blade Runner.
Oh.
So then I started watching the original Blade Runner, and the effects on that are amazing. They still hold up. They are great. I also did want to watch that same night Blade Runner 2049, but then I realized it's already past 11. The movie's almost 3 hours long. I work at 5 in the morning the next day. I can either watch Blade Runner 2049, end it, and then practically, get dressed to go to work,
Right.
or I can sleep for a few hours.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I took the responsible route, and I slept for like
Well,
2.5 hours.
Well, there you go. No, I highly recommend 2049. It was a good follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. Ridley Scott, I think he just produced it. He didn't direct it for sure. But it definitely maintains the same tone and feeling of the original. And same pacing. Definitely you see the influence.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely check it out.
Oh yeah, I'll be watching that tonight.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
Cool. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and talk better sequels.
Mm-hmm.
So we're
For
gonna
the second time.
You're never gonna let me
No,
live that one down.
nope, never gonna give you up.
So we got 1986's Aliens, directed by James Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one's kind of a tricky one because if you've seen Alien and you love the original Alien, you know that it's a masterpiece. It's an amazing film of suspense, thriller, horror. Typically, yes, it is recorded. He's over here taking a look at my screen and making sure.
I just want to make sure because it's a long process.
But definitely, the original Alien, again, it's a different genre altogether.
Mm-hmm.
It's a horror, sci-fi, suspense thriller, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Aliens is an action sci-fi.
Yeah, guts everywhere, alien blood dripping down acid. Little monster antenna reaching from the mouth, chomping you in the skull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was very visual. I saw that.
Close your eyes and
I
hear
saw
my
it.
description. You're practically there.
I saw it. But what was interesting, is that a lot of directors, when they're doing a sequel of their own film, or they are doing a sequel that was directed by somebody else, they tend to kind of rehash the formula, the gist.
Mhm.
I mean, he could have easily have gone with, okay, there's another ship that goes out looking for the original ship, and
Yeah.
they get infested with aliens or whatever, and they're getting killed off one by one. That was an easy, route to go.
Yeah. Or if you wanted to go with something different, instead of like on a ship, you know how they're on the second one, they're on like a moon-based planet.
Right.
Oh,
right.
they're all stuck inside of here and they're waiting for rescue, or whatever.
Yeah,
If
they
you want
could
to
have.
keep the same formula, different atmosphere, it could still work, and
Right.
it could have been done.
But no, they went with Marine commandos
Yeah.
going to war with the aliens.
Game over, man.
Oh, iconic. Love Bill Paxton. I'm so sad he's gone.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, he was awesome. In fact, he ad-libbed that line on the set right on the spot. Game over, man.
Game over.
Yeah, he made that up on the spot, and it was such a hit. Everyone loved it, so it stayed in the film. And now it's one of those most very quotable lines in a film. And but yeah, I mean, him taking it to another direction and so forth, to just create this amazing expansion of the world building that was established in the first one was a pretty ballsy move.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, 20th Century Fox, they had a lot of faith in him to do so, and okay, let's do this, because they really wanted that sequel.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that while they're in the development stage of the film, they came to realization that they forgot one thing. They forgot to kind of lock down one thing.
What's that? One small little minute detail?
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, yeah, basically a small detail.
Yeah, they realized that they had not contacted her to do to work on the sequel. So immediately realized, okay, I mean, they were really deep into the development, the script.
Imagine getting that call. You're Sigourney Weaver. You're on a random Tuesday. Ring, ring. Oh, hello. Oh, yeah, we already have the production almost completely wrapped, or not the production, but the script completely wrapped up for Aliens 2. We kind of need you, so come back, please.
Yeah, then she holds all the cards.
Yeah.
Well, so immediately Cameron phoned her, as the story goes, and said, "Hey, listen, we're working on a sequel to Alien, and we'd love to have you back." And so she went on ahead and listened to the story concept and the gist of it, and so she agreed to do it on a few conditions.
Mm-hmm.
One was, she wanted more money. Now, keep in mind, from 1979 to this point in 86, she had done quite a few films that just kind of, like Ghostbusters, and a few other films that really brought her out as
as a lead actress, nominee
she's
for
a star.
Oscars and everything.
Yeah, she wasn't an actress; she was a star at this point. So obviously, she wanted more money. I mean, that goes without saying.
Logically.
So the second condition was she wanted Ripley, her character, not to use any weapons or guns, anything along that line. And the third was Ripley dies.
I don't want to be here no more. You know what? This is a good franchise, but I want to move on to other things.
Right. Take the check and run.
Run with it.
And so Cameron said, you know what? No. I mean, he stood his ground. I mean, and he's known for being a director to hold his ground on certain issues.
Mm-hmm.
He's not afraid to tell people to, take a hike. So he said, okay, fine. So soon after, he gets on the phone and he calls Arnold Schwarzenegger's agent.
Oh.
And he says, hey, listen, we're working on a new Alien film, and we'd love to have Arnold join the cast.
That's Arnold.
That's Arnold, Mr. Commando, Mr. Terminator. So the agent said, sure, whatever, okay. Agent hangs up, and it turns out that agent was the same agent representing Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, Cameron knew this. It was all a trick. So he immediately gets on the phone with Sigourney Weaver and says, hey, listen, James Cameron just called me, and he wants to offer the role to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, next day she's on the phone, ring, ring. Hello, this is Sigourney. I'll do it.
I'll do it. I'll take it.
And she immediately took it. So she was kind of tricked into it. But it was a good move. It further solidified and moved her career along.
Well, I mean, I think Aliens would have been a completely different film had it been Arnold, just because you remember in the last quarter of the movie where Ripley goes to save the little girl, and it's kind of like this, I lost my little daughter because I was in cryo freeze for so long. I can still save this little girl. Yeah. And it was kind of like this mother-daughter sort of thing.
Yeah, they definitely had the maternal angle strongly infused in the themes.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have the queen alien, which is the mother alien.
Right.
So it was mother to mother. And yeah, I don't think that maternal thing would have worked with Schwarzenegger.
No, not at all.
No. As great as Schwarzenegger is, it would just have been a different film.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
think it just would have been like a straight commando killing aliens sort of movie.
Yeah,
I probably would have still watched it.
It's
Probably
called-
would have still loved
it
it.
would have been called Predator.
Predator.
Yeah, he been there, done that. So let's move on. Let's go to the next film. And again, here we see James Cameron. And this time it's in 1991 with Terminator 2.
Mhm.
A mega box office explosion. This movie was phenomenal. And this one definitely, you have to say, is better than the first. As fun and as good as the first one was, Cameron just took it to another level. I mean,
Mhm.
granted, he had more money, more special effects, but at the core, it was a script.
Yeah.
It was the writing and just expanding on this universe. It was incredible. Schwarzenegger, this time around playing a good guy,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it was his doing that I'm the good guy. Because he had been playing heroes already. He goes, no bad guy.
No bad guy.
Yeah,
Good guy.
good guy. And I mean, it was greenlit technically. Terminator 2 was greenlit as far back as 2000. Well, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Wow.
Where the Terminators being sent back?
It was greenlit in the future. No, back in 1984, shortly after the original came out, they greenlit a sequel.
Mhm.
But of course, it wouldn't be made 2 years later. But it was greenlit with a proposed budget of $12 million. And it ended up being $102 million budget. Again, in today's dollars, you do an adjustment for inflation, and that's an astronomical amount. That's like a $300 million film. But it paid off because it was the first film in film history to get an international box office of over $300 million. It hit that mark. And it being an R-rated film, again, one of the first R-rated film to hit that kind of number. Before that, I think it was Eddie Murphy's Beverly Hills Cop
Mhm.
that broke the record for the highest grossing R-rated film. But this one broke that record, and it stayed at number one for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it, unfortunately, with this success of this one, we got the spawn, of
Terminator 3. Rise of the Machine.
Oh my gosh, that was bad. I mean, it had its points. It had its, but it definitely had a smaller budget. It wasn't Cameron directing at this time, and it was a different studio producing it. But it shows.
Mhm.
The script was just kind of lackluster, and it didn't have that spark and that really, just kick ass.
Plus, they updated the T1000 model to have like some sort of suit under, not a suit, but like some mechanical components underneath, and it's kind of like
Yeah,
it looks cooler just straight liquid metal.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
much more practical.
I think that they were in the mindset of let's add more bells and whistles to the visuals, to the robots or the Terminator, and that's not what it's about.
No,
You look at Terminator 2, yeah, those bells and whistles were implemented, those visual, the visual eye candy, but it was a script, it was the characters, it was the writing that elevated that film to that, to that plateau.
hmm
So, but yeah, and I've lost track. I mean, there was Terminator, Salvation,
yeah,
and
Christian Bale.
Kirsten Bell, great actor. I didn't really
Eh,
care for that one.
I've started it twice, never finished it once.
It was a hot mess.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just all over the place, and there was Genesis
With my soon-to-be wife, Emilia Clarke.
Emilia
There you
Clarke.
go.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure she'll be glad to hear that. I
Yeah,
mean,
eventually when she hears this podcast, she'll accept my proposal.
outstanding. We'll get I'll get my tux ready. Uh, but yeah, the sequels just kind of went downhill. They
Yeah.
tried to resuscitate it with the most recent, which was Dark Fate or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it had some of the feel of the original. They brought back the legacy character of Linda Hamilton. And they killed off John Connors in the first 5 minutes. Oh, was that a spoiler? I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can just jump over this, or well, you already heard this. So anyway, let's move along. So let's go on to the next film on the list here. We're gonna go with one that it's a sequel to a film that is an iconic classic. It's a film that set the standard. That it's synonymous with sci-fi, fantasy adventure. and that movie is The Empire Strikes Back from 1980.
Yeah. An obvious choice for sequels that are better than the first.
Yeah, the original, of course, it's Star Wars. I mean,
Oh, it's great. I'm
uh,
not talking down on the original, but
yeah, but this one,
Empire.
it's which it had a darker tone. The tone of the film was a lot darker, had deeper storyline, and it served perfectly as the second act in a three-act structure. The character arc of Luke Skywalker and the hero's journey.
Hmm.
It was amazing. Visually, the cinematography just was stunning. Uh,
Everything about that film was just
yeah, and
grade A.
George Lucas did not direct it this time around. It was Irvin Kershner, who happened to be it was his film professor from film school.
Oh.
He who was already an established director, done some lesser known films. George Lucas brought him over to direct this, and it shows the difference in the tone between the first and the second. Again, the first one is a classic. It's one of the greatest films. This one, script wise, character wise, development wise, it was just a phenomenal film. And also, it's the first film, Star Wars film, produced independently. Because remember, Lucas had already created Lucasfilm,
Hmm.
and so this time around, it wasn't 20th Century Fox producing the film; it was Lucasfilm. Fox only
Distributed, right?
distributed the film,
Ah.
and and it's interesting if you think back. I mean, you think about it: Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and the Return of the Jedi, and the prequels. They were all film. They're all independent films. So
Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and we can easily call George Lucas one of the most successful independent filmmakers of all time. So, but it was just it definitely overshadowed or just kind of like outshone the original film. The third one, Return of the Jedi, that was just fine. I mean,
It was good. It was nice. I like the Ewoks.
yeah,
They have a special place in my
yeah,
heart.
that's my sister's favorite film because of the Ewoks. Yeah, and yeah, definitely one that superseded the original by leaps and bounds. Again, not to say that it's a better film, but it is a better film. I think.
Yeah.
Um, so now let's skip on to the next one. We're
Mhm.
gonna go with 2004's Spider-Man 2, directed by Sam Raimi. Now,
This one is undisputably much superior than the first one. Not to say that the first one was bad, because the first one, great superhero film, amazingly done by Sam Raimi.
yeah, well, I think what Sam Raimi did, with the original, I mean, he for the first time he brought us the embodiment of Spider-Man onto the big screen, much like Richard Donner did with Superman back in 1978, and Tim Burton with the reinvention of Batman in '89. Sam Raimi did the same. He kind of reinvented, but just kept it to its core essence. So Spider-Man, the first one was amazing. It was really, really well done, and you could tell he had a love and respect
Oh yeah.
for the source material. But the sequel, he took everything that was good in the original and what worked and brought it into the sequel. Didn't rehash a lot of the story or situations of the original, and just it was more heartfelt. It was deeper. It was a smarter film. I was blown away.
Mm.
I just recently saw it, and I forgot how incredibly good it is. And it also reminds me of just how bad. I hope I don't get hate mail for this, but how bad some of the more recent MCU films are.
Not even just some of the more recent ones. I mean, the one that followed Immediately, Spider-Man 3,
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole mess that was, the whole emo Peter Parker dancing outside of the store, the little twirly thing. I
Oh,
don't know.
that was it was embarrassing to watch. Well, that had a lot to do. Sam Raimi directed that as well, but
Mhm.
I think it had a lot to do with studio meddling, getting
Yeah.
involved, and say, "Well, we want more of this and more of that."
And also, we should include like 5 villains at the same time and have all of them fight in a battle royale.
Yeah, they think more is better. Yeah, Spider-Man 2, you had the Green Goblin.
Mhm.
And Spider-Man, I'm sorry,
Spider
Spider-Man 1,
One,
we had the Green Goblin.
Mhm.
Spider-Man 2, we have
Doc Ock.
Doc Ock. And that's all you need. But Hollywood always has this mentality of more is better,
Mm-hmm.
bigger is better. Sounds like I think they're just insecure about something. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it was the same mistake that, what was it, Batman and Robin made with like, what, 3 or 4 villains all at
Yeah.
once. More is not better. I think you have one villain, one objective, one threat. It's enough, and you're able to build a really solid story around it. But it definitely was. Oh, and Aunt May.
Oh, sweet Aunt May.
Yeah, she. Who's the actress who played
The new Aunt May?
the new Aunt May in the MCU?
Are you talking about the Amazing Spider-Man Aunt May, or are we talking No Way Home Aunt
No
May?
Way Home, the MCU.
I wouldn't be able to tell you her name, but I know her face.
I know her face, and I know her. I can't.
She did a movie with Robert Downey Jr. That's all I know.
Right. Yeah. And as she's a great actress.
Yeah.
And I love the work she does, but she did not embody Aunt May.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one thing that with the MCU, that as far as that character goes, and even Spider-Man in general, was that it's the wisdom that Spider-Man gets, or Peter Parker, and helps him become who he is, comes from his elders,
Mm-hmm.
Auntie May and Uncle
Ben.
Ben. They guide him to be the man that he is, through their wisdom. And all you have is, in the MC, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same. So definitely,
I mean, the wisdom was there with the latest Aunt May. Really, when she was dying, and she's holding Peter, and she's telling him the famous speech, with great power. I'm not gonna finish it because it might get copyrighted.
right,
But we all know what it
Yeah.
insinuated.
that whole, and yeah, it wasn't until the end of her character arc, I mean,
That she really shined as
Yeah.
Aunt May.
and again, she is a great actress. Oh man, what's her name? Yeah, Google.
We have the power of the internet, the power of the
Of
sun.
And one thing that that really blew me away, and again, just comparing to the modern MCU,
Marissa Tomei.
Marissa Tomei. Now I'm at ease. Thank you.
There we go.
Marissa Tomei. And there was another thing that I found really incredible about Spider-Man 2, was the usage of the score.
Oh man.
It was epic. It raises the situation, the characters. You're soaring through the air with this score, which is something that I have to say. Some of the more recent MCU, they try, but it's dry.
It doesn't really hit that same
No.
peak.
It just reminds me. Watching this again reminds me just how far off the track the MCU has gone from its source, because they started off great. The original films were,
Solid.
yeah, Iron Man 1 and 2 and
Thor,
Thor,
Captain America.
yeah, they were great, but
Also, not only that, but Spider-Man had action, and it also had depth to it.
yes,
The whole speech that Aunt May is giving the little kid.
Mhm.
Everybody needs a hero.
Yeah.
You were telling me earlier.
Mhm.
And not only that, my personal favorite scene was when Spider-Man just stopped the train that Doc Ock sabotaged, right?
yes,
And everybody's pulling him in as a savior.
yeah,
And then they take off his mask, and everybody's like, "He's just a kid.
yeah,
He's my son's age." That to me was kind of like,
yeah. I shed a couple of man tears.
for me, a little bit more than a couple.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
but, and it had depth, and something that some of the newer ones, they have action and they're good, right? Like you see Tom Holland's
Mhm.
character holding up a boat together with just his
Right.
webs, and you're like, "Oh, that's cool, right?" And then you're lacking that extra depth. It's good, and it sometimes hits you a little
Mhm.
hard, but not as hard as Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I mean, you also have the theme of, he gives so much
Mhm.
to the city and to the people that he loves, and he gets nothing in return. He can't get a break. He can't
He can't study in peace. He can't do anything.
he can't have a girlfriend. He can't even enjoy himself, and he's sacrificing so much of himself that he gives up, and and it's not about that. It's about believing yourself and believing who you are and what you're doing, and following through on this strong core belief. Uh, Geez, I mean, we can go on forever
Oh yeah.
with some of the sub themes in Spider-Man, but it was definitely hands down. It's good as the original was. This one just
Without a doubt, this is the top of the list as better sequel.
I don't know about that
Oh.
because then we have 2022's Top Gun Maverick. Yes. What can you say about this? I mean, it. I grew up and have watched the original Top Gun maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 times.
A couple times.
Yeah, just a few times. I even know that I can watch the film, turn off the volume, and I can
Hit the dialogue.
I can give you all the dialogue. But and it's an awesome film. I love Top Gun. It was amazing. The use of actual fighter jets and being filmed on an aircraft carrier. It gave it such an authenticity. It was such a how can you top that? And that Top Gun. As soon as it was released in '86, there was immediate talk of a sequel, and it was such a personal project to Tom Cruise that he really, unless the script was good, he didn't want to do it.
Right.
And he and Tony Scott, who directed the original, they often discussed it, and it was always on the table, but it was never nothing ever official. And pretty much the project almost came to a screeching halt with the unfortunate death of Tony Scott, who committed suicide. Was about 5 years ago or so, and so
Well, I mean, it's kind of tough to just then say, "Oh, well, you know what? We can just get somebody else." Like
yeah,
that's
Tony
that's
Scott,
tough.
who is Ridley Scott's brother, who directed Alien, an amazing director. You got films like True Romance, Days of Thunder, Crimson Tide. He had a certain vibrant energy, a heart thumping energy to his films, as with Top Gun. For Tom Cruise, that pretty much that almost killed it for him. He was almost that's it. Um,
Well, I mean, you tie a director to a project, and you're just like, I don't imagine me doing this with anybody else.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until when he was on production, the latest was it Mission Impossible film that they put a script together, an idea for a script. Again, he had been very reluctant. He didn't even want to do it. He did, and so the writers they were able to get like what 15, 20 minutes or half an hour with him during his filming of the new Mission Impossible film, and they sat down with him and he's pretty much okay guys, well, you know where I stand, go for it. They pitch him the story, the concept, and when they're done, he's like, hold on a second, hops on the phone, gets on the phone with his agent and says, Top Gun 2, it's happening, make it happen.
Oh snap!
Yeah, it was that good of a concept in a script. And what's incredible is the full cooperation of the United States Navy with the film. They let actors in F-18 Hornets. They allowed the production to install special cameras inside the cockpit. They had 6 or 7 cameras mounted inside the cockpit, but they had to be specifically engineered and designed as to not to affect the flight of the F-18,
Right.
or have fall off and kill the actor.
That would kind of suck.
Yeah, at 6 Gs, that camera falls off. You got a dead actor on your hands. And but the writers, while in development, they needed that mission that was going to knock their socks off. But they had the whole story. They had everything lined up, but they needed is so it's pretty much Maverick does this, and here's the whole storyline and the mission, and then end of mission success, right?
Just fill in the blank.
Yeah. So they needed that mission. So they actually went to the Navy and to the intelligence people at the Navy, and they said, give us a scenario of the most insane suicidal mission that is probable and realistic that could happen. Okay. And so the advisors or the technical advisors, they go, okay, well, here's the scenario. And they laid out this whole mission of a suicide, insane mission that is probable.
Mm-hmm. Probable, but unlikely.
Unlikely,
Yeah.
but this could happen. And the writers were like, cool, that's what we're going to do.
Copy, paste. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And so pretty much the mission, for the most part, that's portrayed in the film, whereas, okay, you know, a bit exaggerated here and there for dramatic license, was based on an actual possible mission that could transpire.
Mm-hmm.
And but it, you know, stuff like that just made the film so genuine and so and I think for me personally, it reminded me of why I love to go to the movies.
Mm. Especially for a movie like Top Gun Maverick, where you can't really recreate that, you know, the sound of the F-18 flying through the overhead in you know, like
Your
something like
living room,
exactly.
yeah.
So you have to experience that in, like, you know, the best audio, the best screen, you know, the best theater.
Yeah. Well, you know, when during the pandemic, the film was already completed. I think it was ready to go in 2020.
It was, and they kept on pushing it back until
and it really upset me because I was so stoked for it. It's like, oh, it's coming out. This cool. Push back.
Nope.
It was pushed back like 3 or 4 times.
It was, yeah.
But it was worth the wait.
Yeah, it was.
But it's funny because I think Netflix, for one, they offered Paramount like $200 million for the film so they could stream it on Netflix. And Paramount was like, no.
They okay. Well, I mean, 200 million versus how much it grossed, and it made a lot of money.
A gazillion and some, right?
$1 billion. I'm doing a reference of Austin Powers. You guys can't see it, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's doing the visual with the finger to the cheek. But Tom Cruise, I mean, they pretty much deferred it to Tom Cruise and said, well, what do you think? Mm-hmm. And Tom Cruise was like, no, this is going theatrical. This has to be seen on the big screen. Eventually. Whether it takes 2, 3, 4 years, we're not going to have this movie streamed. And thank goodness he held his ground when we saw it.
Oh, man.
The vibrating, you know, the vibration from the sound and the visual. It's a movie you have to see on the big screen.
Yeah.
At least for the first time. I mean, since then I've seen it like 5 or 6 times. I got the digital.
I mean, we rewatched it once that same weekend, then another time the following weekend.
Yeah.
And then I think a second time that same weekend. So I mean, four times in a span of like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, and it doesn't get old. I mean, that's just my personal take on it, but it definitely it's exceeded the levels of greatness that the original did. I mean, you even have the character arc of Maverick. If you may miss it, but there is a line in Top Gun about Penny Benjamin, mm-hmm. and how he got, you know, Maverick gets busted because he did a flyover with the Admiral's daughter, Penny Benjamin, and that kind of like you can kind of like make that's the beginning of his recklessness. And his unstable personality and as a professional aviator.
Right.
And they bring Penny Benjamin back in the flesh, not just in dialogue, but as a character played by Jennifer Connelly. And she represents that closure. He just, that arc going around and closes that circle where he started messing up as a professional, as a person in his personal growth as a human being. Mm-hmm. He completes that circle with her. Which I thought was a neat little touch to it. And I thought it was brilliant. That's something that could have easily have been missed in the development of a film or a sequel.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a small detail like that.
Yeah. But, you know, it's also, you know, they're talking about a part 3 now. As much as I love this film, I don't think we need a part 3. Especially
the only way I see this working out is, okay, Tom Cruise's character has now retired, done whatever, and now it's Goose, played by
Miles Teller. Oh, he plays Rooster.
Wow.
Yeah, which he was a knockoff. I mean, he looked like he could be Goose's son,
especially with that mustache.
The sexy stash.
That stash, man.
Yeah, he was great in it, but I think we don't need a part three. This movie, first of all, is being said. It's a movie that saved Hollywood, the movie theater, going to the
Mhm.
movies. It's been nominated for Best Picture from the Academy Awards. I mean, the Oscars, I give very little credence. Whatever. I'm not too crazy about the Oscars, but I mean, it's incredible. It got
It's
nominated
a
for
great
Best.
movie.
Yeah, it got nominated for Best Picture. It won Best Picture at the Golden Globes.
Mhm.
It broke all kinds of records, and again, it resuscitated the cinema going thing. And to me, there's pretty much two films that really my faith in film was restored with, and that was Top Gun and Ghostbusters Afterlife, which came out a couple of years before,
Mhm.
or about a year before. Those two films just remind me, this is why I love film. This is why I love going to the movie theater and sitting in that huge auditorium and
Surrounded by a complete bunch of strangers, dark lights.
yeah, exactly. It's that communal experience, which is great. So, but yeah, again, no part three, please. I hope that never happens because I think they've said what they've had to say about Tom Cruise's character, but definitely, hands down, better than the original.
Oh yeah.
So now we got some better sequels, also some other sequels that were better, if really they were good, if not better than the original, and some honorable mentions. So we're gonna go with the first one, which is Shrek 2 from 2004. um, yeah, again, I think one of the trends we're seeing here is films that did not take the obvious route of rehashing.
Mhm.
Now, okay, you could say that Shrek 2 does rehash the formula of the original, but it lines it with a solid storyline about marriage. I mean, the not so happily
Yeah.
ever after, the realities of marriage, of relationships, of accepting who you are, and
Accepting your partner,
yeah,
everything of that.
it was pretty deep, and it was the introduction and the screen debut of Puss in Boots, which I don't think this. Yeah, I don't think DreamWorks had any idea that Puss in Boots would explode in popularity the way it did. But definitely, it was better than the original. As much as I love the original, again, this one just was a lot better. And what I love about it, it is an anti-Disney film.
Mm.
They love to poke and kick at Disney. There's even a scene where the castle, when they're having a celebration, there's fireworks going off in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very Disney-ish. So they definitely thumb their nose at Disney quite a bit in this, but tactfully, it was a lot of fun. Cameron Diaz as Mrs. Shrek, Fiona,
Mhm.
Mike Myers.
I mean, Eddie Murphy.
Oh God, Eddie Murphy, the man. Just I forgot how incredible his voice work was in this.
Mhm.
You got good voice work in an animation film when you're listening to it, you're watching the film and you're enjoying it, but you're also picturing the actor doing it, moving around in
The
his
whole
face,
gestures and
the
everything. Yeah.
gestures, and you definitely see Eddie Murphy come through
Mhm.
incredibly through his work in this. John,
Shrek is one of the franchises. Well, I've only ever seen Shrek 1 and 2 in Spanish.
mm,
And it's also very enjoyable because the actor who does the voice for Donkey is Eugenio Derbez.
great
A
actor.
great actor, and his vocal talent is just
Yeah,
amazing.
he was in the remake for Overboard.
Yeah.
And
How to Be a Latin Lover.
How-
Instructions not included.
yeah,
Instructions not included. Hits a little too hard, man.
Yeah,
That's
that's-
a tough.
yeah, that's a tissue box movie of
Oh,
a
yeah.
different type.
one.
Um, so with that being said, let's move along. Next
go
one, we're
over
gonna go. The next honorable mention we're gonna go with is 1974's The Godfather Part 2. Now, not only did it just go above and beyond a great film that was The Godfather, the first one, which won an Academy Award for Best Picture.
Mhm.
This one won Best Picture as well. And what's amazing about this film, it's not only a sequel, but it's a prequel,
Mhm.
and it's intermingled. And it's was it the whole story of how Vito Corleone came to this country and he was a little boy, so backstory, and they go back and forth. They juxtapose the past and the present really well, and they complement one another. I mean, there's a sequence in that where there's the baptism of Michael Corleone's baby, but at the same time, he had just ordered the hit of all his competitors, and the first time as the Godfather, he took this kind of drastic move to take it a step further into the dark world of being the Godfather. And so you have the baptism of life and you have the baptism of death. And you talk about masterpiece sequence, just amazing editing. It's just a beautiful, beautiful film. And it's interesting because, as successful and as huge as the first one was, Francis Ford Coppola did not want to direct the sequel because the studio gave him a hard time in the first one.
Oh, so I imagine the second time around.
So he's like, no, screw you guys. I'm not doing it. And so he even suggested, you know what, you want to do it? I got this guy for you. His name is Martin Scorsese.
Oh, I think I've heard of him.
Yeah,
once
yeah.
or
Did a
twice.
little film called the Goodfellas and Casino.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but the studio's dead set against that. They wanted Coppola back. So Coppola had like a few conditions. I forgot what they were, but one of them being, okay, this is going to be Godfather 2 with the Roman numerals. That's the title. Up to that point, there had not been a Roman numerically titled sequel ever. In fact, any numbered sequel. I mean, there was a sequel back in the 50s. I forgot, some TV series or some special on TV, and they did a part 2, and they call it the whatever 2. But aside from that, there had never been a theatrical film part 2 or anything of that nature. And so the studio was like, and oddly enough, he had some outrageous demands, but they accepted the other ones, but they're like, nope, we're not doing 2. We're not doing that 2 stuff. That's
By all your other demands.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. We're not
doing a 2.
Yeah, but of course they caved in, and look at what he started.
Yeah.
You got part 2, 3, 4, and so forth.
Part 9.
Part 9, and it's interesting little side bit. I mean, it's the first film sequel to win an Academy Award for Best Picture. The next one after that was Lord of the Rings. Return of the King in 2003.
That's an easy win.
Yeah, just incredible. So next, so we're gonna go to the next honorable mention, and that's gonna be 2008's The Dark Knight, directed by Christopher Nolan.
Oh man, Christopher Nolan's amazing.
Now, to put in perspective, all 3 films were fantastic. They were some of the best iterations, in my opinion, top shelf iteration of Batman.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah, Batman Begins, and then
The Dark Knight, and then The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah.
Great films, all 3 of them. Thunderous, emotionally driven scores, cinematography, amazing storytelling,
Action sequences.
The action sequence was just amazing. I mean, they are masterpieces. They are incredible films. But it's the second one.
Oh, I mean, due to one major factor, not only this one major factor, but everything in this movie went right.
Yeah, and Heath Ledger,
That one major factor
as the
Yep.
Joker,
Mhm.
did what I thought could never occur.
Mhm.
To that point, Jack Nicholson was like the reigning king, who played the Joker in 1989's Batman, Tim Burton.
Well, I mean, you got the iconic line, "You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?"
Yeah,
Great.
amazing. He and I'd seen I'd seen Heath Ledger's work before, a film called Last Night, and a few other films that he's done. Damn good actor. But this is the Joker. This is an over-the-top, psychotic, insane character
Yeah.
that requires going outside of the box and outside of your comfort zone. And wow, he now is the reigning king. As great as Jack Nicholson was, I mean, one could say it's a different interpretation.
I mean, it's a complete different take. Well, I mean, you got who did Cesar Romero,
Oh,
who did the Joker in
in
the
60s.
66.
Yeah.
He was a wacky, goofy Joker,
right,
right?
right.
And you got Jack Nicholson, who was just kind of like this, almost the
What?
kind of like a prankster, but serious prankster, trying to get the stuff done.
Cynical and yeah, and
Yeah. And then you got, I mean, Heath Ledger,
Yeah.
who was just
now
psychotic, trying to make a point in
Now you notice-
society.
you notice we're not mentioning Jared Leto.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that monstrosity of a Joker.
Yeah. So let's move on. So yeah, definitely The Dark Knight, head and shoulders above the best in that trilogy.
Yeah, I would rank it Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. So, and then the final honorable mention, we're going to go with 1991's Silence of the Lambs. Now, some of you cinephiles out there might go, wait a minute, that was the first film. That's not the sequel. There was Red Dragon and Hannibal or something like that, right?
Uh-huh.
Technically, it is a sequel, okay?
How so?
Well, back in, I think it was 86, Michael Mann, who directed such great films as Heat and created the show Miami Vice, he directed a film called Manhunter or Mindhunter, okay?
Okay.
Which is based on a novel called Red Dragon, okay?
Oh.
So Red Dragon was the original. So yeah, so it is a sequel. So it kind
Technically.
yeah, I
It's
know.
Technically. a sequel.
I'm reaching here, but yeah, I mean, but
Well, I mean, Silence of the Lambs it's amazing.
oh, it's an incredible film. I think Anthony Hopkins or Sir Anthony.
Sir
Yes,
Anthony Hopkins.
Yes,
He is knighted.
I mean, he's been around since the 70s, mid to late 70s, and a great body of work. But I think this is what made him that mainstream Hollywood, much sought after star, an actor.
I mean, he was creepy as heck, man.
Charming. You know, you want to have a glass of Chianti with him, but you're afraid he's going to eat your liver.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like you said. A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with a nice side of fava beans.
yeah,
You know, ugh,
yeah. It's
creepy as
he was great. So definitely, technically, it is kind of a sequel because it came after. It came after. So, but yeah, I mean, so bottom line is, it's really a great thing. I mean, most sequels that are generated that come out there, they really don't meet our expectations, as we discussed in the previous episode. But when it happens, it's quite amazing. It's a cinematic experience. So,
Yeah.
well,
Agreed.
well, I think. What do you think? That's about it for today.
I think that's about it.
All right.
I
Well,
got nothing else to say.
you sure?
Kudo.
Okay.
That's my words of wisdom for today.
Outstanding. With those words of wisdom, we'll go ahead and we'll close out this episode. We really hope you enjoyed this episode, and hope you'll join us next week for an all new episode. So please help to support the podcast by giving us a nice 5-star rating or a nice review. You can subscribe and follow us on Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Audible, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Also, don't forget, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and on our YouTube channel. All the links can be found in our show notes. And you can contact us directly if you have any suggestions, any comments, any, let us know what you think. We'd love to get your feedback. You can email us at thefilmjoepod@gmail.com. Again, that's also in our show notes. So hope you enjoyed the episode again. I'm Joe.
I'm Carlos.
And this is the Filmjoe Podcast,
Where
where film
film
talk
talk
happens.